All right. If you're in a relationship that works on the surface, but something still feels slightly off, slightly heavy, or slightly unbalanced, this reading is for you. Nothing dramatic, no big fights, but also not the kind of stability that truly relaxes you. Bring this connection to mind, the way it actually functions day to day, not the version you hope it becomes. Let's look at what's really moving underneath. What shows up here is constant adjustment. This tells me the relationship is currently being held together by flexibility and effort, not by natural balance. Someone in this connection is absorbing pressure, keeping things from tipping, adjusting faster than the other person, and making small sacrifices to keep things smooth. And this often shows up in very ordinary ways. Who adjusts their schedule more, who initiates the conversations, who plans around the other person's availability, who follows up when something feels unresolved. From the outside, everything looks functional. From the inside, it can feel like you're always managing the relationship instead of simply being in it. And over time, that creates quiet fatigue, even if you don't call it a problem yet. One important thing many people don't notice is that this kind of adjustment slowly becomes invisible. It starts to feel normal, like this is just how relationships work. But when only one side keeps stabilizing the system, balance quietly shifts without anyone naming it. Now, this is important. What I see here is control through logic and decision framing, meaning one person quietly sets what makes sense, what gets discussed, what gets postponed, and what is considered reasonable. Not through pressure, but through being the one whose perspective becomes a default. The other person may adapt to that without realizing how much influence is slowly shifting. This is how power moves in relationships, not through fights, but through who defines reality. And this is why this particular week matters more than it might seem, because when these roles repeat without being questioned, they don't stay flexible. They start turning into structure. What feels temporary begins to feel normal, and what feels normal slowly becomes expectation. What shows up next is something subtle. Someone in this connection is processing privately, not pulling away outwardly, but becoming more internally independent. There may be unspoken evaluations, quiet emotional distancing, or private questions about the long-term future of the relationship. This isn't about leaving right now. It's about mentally stepping back and observing. That's usually the stage before someone either resets the dynamic or accepts a permanent imbalance. And often, this inner shift is invisible to the partner who feels everything is still fine. This is the moment when people start asking themselves quietly, is this actually sustainable for me? Not emotionally, structurally. Here's something else that matters. Many people stay in this pattern longer than they want to, because when you're the one keeping things stable, it feels risky to stop. You worry that if you don't adjust, things might fall apart. So you keep carrying a little more, hoping balance will return on its own. But stability built on one person's flexibility is not real stability. It's just delayed imbalance. Another thing people don't expect is how this affects attraction. When one person carries more emotional and practical load, desire slowly shifts into responsibility. You start feeling more like the stabilizer than the partner. And even if there is still affection, the polarity that creates attraction becomes weaker. This is why many couples feel less connected over time, even without major conflicts. What this situation moves into is practical correction mode. Not emotional talks, not dramatic shifts, but small behavioral changes that slowly shape the future pattern. Who adapts? Who initiates? Who carries the emotional labor? Who stops asking for certain things? This is the phase where long-term roles get locked in quietly through repetition. What you reinforce this week becomes a new normal. And this is why many relationships don't break suddenly. They solidify into patterns that later feel very hard to change. Not because anyone intended it, but because small adjustments kept repeating until they became structure. What matters now is not confrontation, it's clean awareness and conscious choices. This week, your power is in noticing where you overadjust, where you stay silent to keep peace, and where your needs slowly move to second place. And then making small, precise corrections, not emotional ones, but structural ones. That could be bringing up practical expectations, changing how much you accommodate, not immediately smoothing over discomfort, or naming limits calmly instead of absorbing everything internally. Because once patterns stabilize, changing them costs much more. This is a window where small decisions protect your future balance. If this pattern continues without adjustment, what usually happens is not a big explosion. It's slow emotional disengagement, less initiative, less vulnerability, more emotional self-containment. The relationship still exists, but the sense of mutual investment slowly weakens. People often describe this later as, like, we didn't fight, we just drifted. That drift starts exactly at stages like this. What this reading shows is not a crisis. It shows a relationship that is quietly reorganizing around effort, influence, and emotional load. Nothing breaks this week, but something becomes more permanent. And how you respond now shapes where this connection goes over the next months, not just the next days. If you want to understand your exact dynamic, who is adapting more, where influence really sits, and what trajectory this relationship is actually on, that only becomes clear in personal analysis, because every couple's structure is different. And even if the surface story sounds similar, the link is in the description. Thank you for being here.